Hello, my name is Holly Jo Flora, and in today's video, I'd like to share some ideas with you on how you can not only encourage your kids to read more, but encourage them to enjoy reading. And all of these ideas come to you from a woman who truly struggled as a child to not only enjoy reading, but just struggled to read. It did not come naturally to me. I was so frustrated when I was learning how to read. When I was little, I loved math. Math came naturally to me because I loved that it made sense. You learn the rules with math, and then you apply the rules to the problem, and you'll get the right answer. But with reading, I would learn the rules, and then it felt like there's 100 exceptions to every rule. It just did not make sense. I still have a vivid memory. I think I'll always have this memory of just a holy come apart that I had when I was very small over a spelling list. Because you cannot tell me that the letter E makes an eh sound and the letter Y makes a y sound, but yet EYE spells the word I. Makes no sense. I was so frustrated. And since I struggled learning how to read, I did not enjoy reading at all. When I saw a book, all of elementary school age, I didn't look at a book and think, oh, a fun escape, or I enjoy that. I didn't pick it up for a fun pastime. It wasn't fun. Books to me were hard work. They were frustrating. I don't think that I can't remember being elementary school age and ever reading a book just by choice, for fun. I would pick up books and just look through them, their pictures. I remember going to bookstores, and while I was waiting on my family, I'd look for Berenstain Bear books, but I would never read them. I would just sit and look through all the pictures. But everything changed for me in the 6th grade. In 6th grade, we went to middle school, and the first day that I had English, Mrs. Davis was our teacher, and she had set up the desks into 3 sections in her room. And that first day, she explained to us what we would be doing in each section. We'd stay for, I think it was 15, maybe 20 minutes in each section. And then when the timer would go off, we'd rotate to the next one. And wouldn't you know it, that the desk that I was sitting in that day for that first section, I was in the reading section. Oh, and I remember on the inside thinking, no! She had a book sitting on each desk in that section, and she explained to us that while we were in that group of desks, we would read for that amount of time each day, and that we were to write down in our notebook the page we ended on so that we could start there the next day, or the next class that we were in there, and that when we finished the book, we would take a test on the book, which I immediately was just filled with anxiety. One, I didn't want to sit and read for that long. I did not enjoy reading, but also since I struggled with learning how to read, and I felt anxiety about it because I knew I wasn't strong at it. It felt like a weakness. I was also slow at reading. And I remembered thinking, I'm going to be the last one to finish the book. What if I don't finish the book? It was just panicky. So that first day we started reading, and I picked up the book and looked at it, and it was called Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats of Nim. And I started reading. And that was the book that just flicked the switch for me on I enjoy reading. I enjoyed the story so much that I forgot that I didn't like reading, and that it was a struggle for me, and that it didn't come naturally to me. I forgot all of that, and I got just swallowed up in a wonderful way in the story. And each day when the timer would go off, I would think, no, I'm not done reading. I wanted to know what was going to happen, and I had never experienced that before. When we got close to being finished with the book, I remember being at home one night and telling my sister, Amanda, I finally have found a book that I like. And I told her it was Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats of Nim. And she said, oh, they made that into a movie. It's a cartoon. And of course, at that time, I had disliked reading so much, but I loved movies because movies were easy. You just sit there and watch them. That I thought all movies would be better than books, more fun. And so I couldn't wait to see that movie. I thought, oh, I'm loving the book. The movie's going to be even better. So the next time we went, and we had finished the book, so it didn't ruin the ending for me. But we finished the book in class, and then the next time my family went to Video Hut to rent movies, I had asked Mom and Dad, if that movie was there, can I please rent it? So I looked, it was there. It was called The Secret of Nim. And they let me rent it. I could not wait. I had to watch it immediately, right when we got home. And I was so disappointed. That was my first taste of realizing that so many times the book is better than the movie. They had left out so many great parts that were in the book, and also in the movie, it wasn't how I had pictured the characters looking or sounding at all. I enjoyed reading that story so much more than watching it in a movie. So I've since then become a mom. I have an 11-year-old daughter now and a 9-year-old son, and we also homeschool. And when we started homeschooling, when my daughter was about to begin kindergarten, I was nervous as could be, not about teaching anything except reading, because I thought, I struggled with this so much. What if I'm terrible at teaching it? And what if she's like, this doesn't make any sense? And I'd just be like, I know, it's awful. It doesn't make any sense. It's terrible. So I wanted my kids to enjoy reading, but I was also praying and hoping that they weren't going to struggle like I did. And thankfully, both of them have taken so well to reading. My daughter, they learned in different ways. My daughter really would sound out words and, guess at the word from sounding it out, saying it. And my son, he can sound out words, but he didn't do that as much. He would typically, you could tell he was just memorizing the words from seeing them over and over. But they both, even though they went different ways about it, they came to the same place where they are becoming great readers. And I'm so thrilled. So when my daughter turned 3, I decided that I wanted to read to them every night. I would read to my daughter, I would read to my son, and I would do it separately. Before they went to bed, I would read to my son and rock him in his rocking chair. He was only 1. So, we started with just picture board books, but I thought that's important, that he'll see the pages, he'll pay attention, I'll let him turn the pages, and he'd look at the pictures and I'd read, there'd just be a few amount of words. Same for my daughter. I mean, she was only 3, but I would, each one by themselves, I would rock them and read to them. Then we'd say our prayers and we'd sing a song and I'd put them to bed. And that is a great goal. But parents, are you like me? You make these decisions where you're like, this is great for my kids, I'm going to do it. But then life happens and you get exhausted and you want to do that. And I have to say, we really did. I did read to them almost every night. But there were some nights where I was just exhausted. And I just wanted the night to be over. And selfishly, I just wanted to get in bed and turn my brain off and just look through social media or just watch TV and not be needed. And so there were some nights that we missed. And then there were also some nights that, unfortunately, I would go into it with such a bad attitude. And this isn't when my daughter was 3 and my son was 1, because those books were so quick. Those were just a couple minutes and you'd be done. But then as they got older, the books would get bigger, and then as my daughter continued to grow up and she started reading chapter books. Now my son's in chapter books too, but then I had to go from reading an entire book before bed to let's just read a chapter. But it started taking longer. And even though I wanted to read to them every night, and we did many nights, there'd be nights where we would do it, but I had such a bad attitude. And I regret that, because I'd be like, come on, hurry, let's get in your room. We've got to read, Moms. I've had such a long day, but I have to read to you, so let's hurry up. Come on, we got to read. And I would fly through the book, and it wasn't fun. It wasn't fun for my daughter, it wasn't fun for my son, it wasn't fun for me. That I had a bad attitude, because it became more like, we do this every night, I've got to put the check mark that we did it, so come on. So we'd either have a great time because I had the right attitude and I might be well rested, who knows, I was in the mood to read, or we'd fly through it and I'd be a grumpy pants, or we'd skip the night. Everything changed though when my daughter was 8 years old. And it had just been a long day, and I can't remember all of the details of that day, but I will never forget what happened that night. Because when my daughter was 8, my son was 6, and my son has had more struggles with just different things than my daughter has had, and he's younger. So there would be many times during the day that my daughter could do something on her own, but my son needed my help in doing it. And you get into a routine of just, kind of being where you're needed and doing this, doing that. You're so busy. I didn't step back and think about how much time I'm actually spending with my son helping him versus how much time I'm spending with my daughter. And so it had been a long day. I was exhausted, and unfortunately I was in one of those snippy moods where I did not want to read. I wanted the day to be done. And my daughter came bebopping in my room, and when I started reading to them, I would rock them in their chair and read to them and then put them to bed. When they got older, they would get into bed with me one at a time, and I would read to each of them separately, and then we'd do our rest of the nighttime routine. So she comes bebopping in my room. I'm ready to read, Mom. I did not want to read. And I was snippy. I was like, listen, we're not going to read tonight. I'm sorry. I'm tired. We will read tomorrow night. And my daughter burst into tears, which, caught me off guard. And I looked at her, and it just all came out. She was like, Mom, you spend all day with Derek helping him with everything, and you hardly spend any time with me. And I look forward to reading time every night because it's the only time that you and I are alone together and you pay attention to me. Of course, I start crying. I did not realize how important reading time was, because I was thinking of only being, I want them to learn how to love to read, which sometimes I was succeeding at, but other times I was making them not enjoy reading just purely because of my attitude. But it taught me that reading time, it was bigger than us just reading a book. It was us being together, just the two of us. And since that night, I have approached reading time very differently. I try my hardest to be in a good mood, even when I'm exhausted. And I may say something like, hey, tonight, let's only read a half chapter because it has been a long day, but I don't want us to not read because I look forward to this, or something like that. And as we read, I'll ask my son, what was your favorite part of that chapter? Or my daughter, did you see that coming? So that we can talk about it a little bit. And I can really tell that my kids look forward to reading with me every night. And I'm not perfect, and life does happen where you have some nights where you have to go somewhere and you come home super late and it's just too late to read. And when that happens, I try to always tell my kids, it's just too late for us to read tonight, and I hate that. Let's read in the morning. We'll read our chapter in the morning, okay? So that they know it is important to me and that I look forward to it too. But it's checking so many boxes when I read to my kids because they're spending that time with me. I'm helping them build their vocabulary. I'm able to explain in a story, maybe they don't understand what's happening, and I get to talk to them about it. It's been so good. And so I want to share that with you. And I really encourage parents, please read to your kids at night and try to have a better attitude that I had for many years about it, because we may think, I don't have time for that. Yes, we do. If we have time for 5 to 10 minutes to be on social media every day, we have time to sit and read to our kids and to hopefully help them enjoy reading. And another thing that I did was last year during the summer, I had us do 15 minutes of quiet reading time. And my daughter could read by herself, but my son still needed a little bit of help. So I did have to sit with him, and he would read to me so that I could help him with any trouble words. But now, this past summer, we did our 15 minutes every day reading time. And there were certain things that were really important to me about that. It is quiet, because for those 15 minutes, I don't play any music. We don't have any talking. I set a timer, and it's 15 minutes of silence. Because I find that there are so many people, even adults, that silence is very uncomfortable to them, that they feel the need to keep talking and or fill that silence with something. And I don't want my kids to be that way. I want them to be fine with no sounds happening, it just being quiet. So for 15 minutes, we don't talk. There's nothing going on except the three of us just sitting in the family room reading. And it's the three of us, because I think it's important for me to not only be like, you need to read, but I think they need to see me reading. So they get their books, I get my book, and we all sit down and we read. And that's been wonderful. And my daughter is really enjoying reading in a way that I never did as a kid. And I'm so thrilled about that. And my son is enjoying reading. And since I'm reading to my kids, I know what their interests are. And so I try to get them books that they're going to enjoy, because I think we need to, I've heard from some people, you know, the parents or even the grandparents get books for the kids, and it's a book that they loved when they were a kid, and they force the kids to read them. I am not going to force my kids to read anything. I mean, unless it goes with school. If it's just for like what we do, the 15 minutes or at nighttime, that's just fun reading. I don't force myself to read stuff that I don't enjoy. You know, if you're watching a TV show or a movie and you don't enjoy it, you turn it off. I think it should be the same way for a book. I mean, give it a chance, read 2 or 3 chapters, but if they don't enjoy it, I don't force my kids to finish a book, because I'm afraid that if I force them to read something that they don't like, they're going to start thinking, I don't like reading, and I don't want them to do that. So we try a bunch of books, and I have to say, books written today are much different than books written a very long time ago. You know, I know a lot of parents and grandparents get their kids Hardy Boy books and Nancy Drew books, and those are all great, but the pacing of those books is a lot different than it is now. They move a lot slower than books do nowadays, because it's just kind of the world that we live in with technology. It's immediate, go, go, go. That some stories move slowly, and I'll show you, case in point, I brought it out here to the car. This is a book, my sister read the Borrowers series when she was young, and she loved it. I never read that because I didn't read much. But my daughter, I bought her the Borrowers series, and this is the last book in the series. And you can see, we read a ton of books every year because I'm reading a chapter every night. This one has just under 300 pages. But the pacing of these books, it's very slow compared to books written now. And I could see every once in a while my daughter kind of starting to check out. And when that would happen, I'd try to explain kind of what was happening too, because, and I don't mean this to be insulting to the author or to their family, the sentences are much longer. To me, it's run-on sentences, but it's got long sentences. The vernacular, we don't talk like this now. I think the first Borrower book was written in the 60s. I think this one was written 1981, 1982. Even since then, we don't use some of these words. Also, this book is not said in the United States. So there were a lot of words that my daughter didn't know what they meant. So since I'm reading it with her, I could explain things, help the story move along for her by explaining some things. So she enjoyed these books. But this is a type of book that I could tell she enjoyed reading this with me. She would not have enjoyed reading this on her own. And I have now, you know, I said don't shove books on your kids that you enjoyed, but I know my daughter's temperament. She's like me in a lot of ways. I read Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats of Nim when I was 11. My daughter is 11. I bought this for her to try out this summer. I said, read the first couple of chapters. If you don't like it, you don't have to read it. She read the first couple of chapters and was hooked. She loved this book, which made my heart happy. And it has 2 other books that were written by Robert C. O'Brien's daughter that were also about Nim. And so my daughter has read the next one, and we've got the 3rd one, but I haven't given it to her yet. She is right now reading on her own A Wrinkle in Time, and it thrills my heart so much when I look over on the couch and my daughter, she doesn't have her iPad, she doesn't have her Switch, she has a book and she's sitting and reading it, because you would never have seen me doing that when I was her age. So I'm thrilled that she is enjoying reading. And my son right now, this has his bookmark in it that he made, but he is all into Star Wars. So he's loving this Jedi Academy, which is much more like kind of comic book layout. But find books that your kids enjoy, because we want them to enjoy reading. But also, think about maybe having every night a reading time with your kids, because it's been a blessing to me, especially since I've gotten my attitude in check. And it really can help them enjoy reading, because then they will tie the memory and the action of reading to you. And that can mean a ton to them because they love you. So that's all I had to share about for this video. My next video, I'm going to be sharing about, this really is God's sense of humor. I told you that I struggled so much with reading, and now I write books. So that is, God's sense of humor. And you can tell your kids that. If you have a kid who really struggled or struggles with reading, one day they can grow up and write books. So you never know, the sky's the limit. God can have amazing things planned. But I have finished my second book, and in the next video, I'm going to tell you all about it. It is a children's novel, so that could be a book that you get for this Christmas, and I'd love for you to read that book with your kids and make those wonderful memories. So if you have enjoyed this video, please like it, give it a thumbs up. I hope that you will subscribe to this YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button so that you do not miss a video. Thank you for spending some time with me. Hope you have a great day. Thanks.